Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. You ready to unlock some serious potential?
I am.
This time, we're going deep on the compound effect.
Ah, yes. A fantastic book. It's all about how small, consistent actions can create incredible results.
So no magic bullets?
Nope, no magic bullets here. It's really about those seemingly insignificant choices we make every day.
So true. And speaking of choices, I have to tell you, when I first read about Hardy's $3 million versus a penny that doubles every day,
Yeah.
my mind was blown.
Yeah, that one really gets you thinking. Most people would jump at that 3 million bucks, right?
For sure, who wouldn't?
But by day 31, that penny, it would be worth, get this, over $10 million.
That is wild. It really makes you question those instant gratification choices we're so quick to make sometimes.
It totally does. And Hardy really drives this point home with his three friends example.
Oh yeah, with Larry, Scott, and Brad, those guys.
Exactly. Larry, he just kind of stays put, doesn't really change much.
Stays in his comfort zone. Totally. Then there's Scott. He makes a few small positive changes like reading a bit every day, cutting back on some calories.
Oh, okay, a little more.
Yeah, just small stuff.
Yeah.
And well, you have Brad who kind of indulges in some, not so great habits.
The small indulgences that add up, I get it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And over 31 months, you can see the impact of those choices.
The differences in their lives are huge, right?
They really are. Scott, he ends up losing like 33 pounds just by making those small tweaks.
And
Brad, he gains those same 33 pounds by indulging just a little too much.
It really highlights how those seemingly insignificant choices can really snowball over time. But it's not just about weight loss.
Oh, no, not at all. The ripple effect, it impacts their careers, their relationships, everything.
So how do we even start to harness this compound effect? Where do we begin?
Well, for Hardy, it all starts with taking responsibility.
Okay, taking responsibility, what does that look like?
It's about owning 100% responsibility for your life no matter what.
Easier said than done sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. But Hardy actually shares a story about how he had this realization when he was only 18.
Wow, 18. That's pretty young to have such a powerful epiphany.
Yeah, it really shaped his whole perspective. He talks about how he created what he calls a scorecard, where he tracked his behavior for a week.
Interesting. So it's like becoming aware of your habits, both good and bad.
You got it. And it's not about being perfect. It's about gaining that awareness. Hardy used it to track his spending, which helped him create better financial habits.
It's almost like being a detective in your own life.
Totally. And once you have that awareness, that's where habit building comes in.
Habits. The building blocks of, well, everything. But how do we actually change them?
Right. Well, Hardy compares our habits to trees. Like, a young tree with shallow roots is easy to pull up.
Gotcha.
But an old tree with deep roots, it's nearly impossible to remove. Our habits are the same way. The longer we do something, the more ingrained it becomes.
That's a really powerful analogy. But how do we replace those deeply rooted bad habits with good ones?
Well, Hardy suggests starting by identifying your why.
Okay, your why. So, why do you want to change? What's the bigger picture?
Exactly. He even shares that early in his career, his drive was to prove people wrong. That why kept him going.
Having a strong why is like having a guiding star, right? It helps you stay on track.
Exactly. And then you got to set clear goals. Don't just say, I want to be healthier. Be specific. Like, I'm going to work out 3 times a week.
Right. So instead of this vague idea, you have an actual plan. I like it.
And speaking of plans, when it comes to breaking bad habits, it's not just about willpower.
I was hoping you'd say that. So what's the secret?
Hardy actually gives a step-by-step process. First, you got to identify the bad habit and its triggers. Like, do you overeat when you're stressed?
Do you procrastinate when you have a big deadline? We've all been there.
Exactly. Then make a list of new habits you want to implement. So if stress makes you overeat, maybe you replace that with a quick meditation or a walk.
Yeah, instead of reaching for the chips, take a walk.
Exactly. It's about replacing those bad habits with good ones.
Trading up. And Hardy even gives 7 techniques for building those good habits.
Oh, yeah, those are super helpful. Like the first one, set yourself up to succeed. Make it easy. If you want to eat healthier, stock your fridge with healthy foods.
Get rid of the junk food. Make those good choices the easy choices.
And then think addition, not subtraction. Instead of saying no more pizza, say I'm adding a big salad to my meal.
Much more positive. I like that.
And don't underestimate the power of accountability. Tell someone your goal. Tell everyone.
Get a success buddy, someone to keep you motivated and on track.
Yeah, you can celebrate wins together, troubleshoot challenges, and just keep each other going. And hey, a little friendly competition never hurts either.
True. A little competition can really light a fire under you.
And as you're working towards those goals, celebrate the small wins. Don't just focus on the end game. Enjoy the journey.
Those little victories keep you motivated and make the process more enjoyable.
Absolutely. And finally, be patient. Building lasting habits takes time.
Rome wasn't built in a day.
Exactly. And the compound effect, it's about playing the long game. So we've got choices, habits, but what about momentum?
Ah, yes, Big Mo.
Hardy's all about that big mo.
Yeah.
That's what happens when your consistent actions gain momentum over time. It's like pushing a merry-go-round.
I love that analogy. At first, it takes so much effort to get it moving.
So much. But once it's going, it spins almost effortlessly.
And you can see that in real life, too. Think about Michael Phelps's training.
Or Apple's success with the iPod. Or how Google dominates, well, everything.
All about that consistent action building that momentum.
Exactly. And one key to building momentum is having routines.
Routines, like set schedules.
Hardy talks about how golfer Jack Nicklaus had this super precise pre-shot routine, and even shares his own morning and evening routines.
So routines are like setting the stage for consistent action.
You got it. And speaking of consistency, it's essential for momentum. Hardy says it's like flying a plane.
Oh.
Stopping and starting all the time wastes a ton of energy.
That makes sense.
The smoother the flight, the more efficient the journey. It's the same with our goals.
And if you give up too soon, all that effort, it's wasted.
Exactly. Like trying to pump water from a well.
Yeah.
You got to keep at it to see those results.
Consistency is key. So we've covered choices, habits, momentum. What's next? What about all those things outside of ourselves that impact us?
Yes. That's where influences come into play.
Influences, huh? Like what?
Hardy talks about three main types: input, associations, and environment.
Okay, let's break those down. Starting with input, I'm guessing that's the information we take in.
You got it. The books we read, the shows we watch, even the conversations we have. It's all input. And Hardy believes in the garbage in, garbage out principle.
Like if you're constantly feeding your mind negativity, it's going to affect your outlook.
Exactly. He even talks about creating a media diet.
A media diet, huh? That's interesting. So being mindful of what we consume mentally, just like we do with food.
Exactly. He actually canceled his newspaper subscription and limits his TV time.
Wow, he really walks the walk. So instead of filling up on junk, he's focusing on quality information.
He's all about reading books, listening to educational audio, seeking out stuff that aligns with his values.
It's like curating your own personal library of positive and inspiring content.
Love that. And don't forget about using your commute for learning.
Ah, turning your car into a mobile classroom. I've tried that. It's great.
It's all about maximizing those little pockets of time.
Okay, so we've got input. What about associations?
Associations. The people we surround ourselves with. Hardy calls them our reference groups and says they can have a huge impact on our lives.
Like, how so?
He says they can determine as much as 95% of our success or failure.
Wow, 95%. That's a powerful number. So the people we hang out with can really shape our destiny.
It's like a subtle current, gently pushing you in one direction or another.
If you're hanging out with negative people, their negativity can rub off on you.
And on the flip side, if you're with positive, goal-oriented people, their energy can lift you up.
Okay, that makes sense. So how do we choose the right people to be around?
Hardy suggests identifying the 5 people you spend the most time with, and then assess how successful they are in areas that matter to you, like health, finances, mindset.
So you're kind of evaluating your social circle.
Right. Then average their scores. That average is a reflection of your likely future if you stay on that same path.
It's like holding up a mirror to your social life and asking, is this what I want?
Exactly. Maybe you need to make some adjustments. Perhaps it's limiting time with certain people or actively seeking out new connections.
So being intentional about your social circle.
And finding a peak performance partner, someone who's also committed to growth and will push you to be your best.
Like a built-in cheerleader and accountability partner all in one. Any tips on finding these kinds of people?
Attend events, join groups, seek out mentors. It's all about expanding your network and connecting with people who inspire you.
Okay, so we've got input, we've got associations. What's the last one?
Environment, right. Yep, our physical surroundings. Hardy believes that our environment can either support us or sabotage us.
I can see that. Like if your kitchen is full of junk food, it's going to be hard to eat healthy.
Exactly. It's all about making your environment work for you.
Thanks.
Declutter your workspace, create a cozy reading nook, surround yourself with inspiring things.
So it's like setting the stage for success.
Totally. And Hardy even shares a story about how he used to visualize himself living in a specific house on a hill.
Oh.
He ended up buying that very house a few years later.
Wow, that's amazing. It's like our surroundings can really shape our thoughts and even our reality.
Absolutely. It's all connected.
Okay, so we've covered input, associations, and environment. We're talking choices, habits, momentum, those outside influences. That's a lot to digest.
It is. And it all leads to the question of how we accelerate our progress.
Ah, yes. Acceleration. How do we kick things into high gear?
Hardy believes in pushing past those perceived limits, exceeding expectations, and going for those wow moments.
Give me an example.
He tells a story about Lance Armstrong pushing through unbelievable pain during the Tour de France. It highlights that real growth often comes after hitting that wall.
So it's like pushing past your comfort zone, going that extra mile.
Exactly. And he even talks about Arnold Schwarzenegger's cheating principle in weight training.
Cheating in weight training.
Yeah, like slightly adjusting your form to squeeze out a few more reps.
Oh, I see. Pushing your limits, getting the most out of your effort.
Exactly. And Hardy says this applies to all areas of life. It's about doing more than expected, exceeding those expectations.
So it's about going above and beyond, creating those wow moments.
Absolutely. Think about Nordstrom's incredible customer service or Richard Branson's crazy product launches.
They always find a way to stand out from the crowd to make a statement.
They're always pushing boundaries, finding those opportunities to go further, deliver more.
And sometimes it's those small extra efforts that make all the difference.
It's about being memorable, being remarkable, being the one who always goes the extra mile.
And that's how you create that ripple effect, right?
Exactly. It all comes back to the compound effect, those seemingly small actions that over time can lead to extraordinary results. It's about making a lasting impression, showing that you're not afraid to go the extra mile.
Okay, so we've covered a ton about how to make this compound effect work for us. But what about those times when we feel stuck? When we're putting in the effort but not seeing the results.
Well, Hardy actually talks about this too. He says it's like trying to pump water from a well.
Oh, well.
Yeah, you have to keep pumping even when you don't see the water right away.
Keep going even when it's tough.
You got it. That's where persistence comes in. You can't give up too soon or all that effort is wasted.
So don't quit right before the breakthrough. I like it.
Exactly. Now, once you've built some momentum, Hardy says the next step is to think about how to accelerate your progress.
Acceleration. How do we do that?
Well, it's all about pushing past those perceived limits. Think about Lance Armstrong pushing through incredible pain during the Tour de France.
Man, that guy was intense.
Intense for sure. But it shows that real growth often comes after we hit that wall, after we exhaust our initial energy.
It's like those last few reps at the gym. The ones that burn like crazy but make you stronger.
Right. Hardy even talks about Arnold Schwarzenegger's cheating principle.
Cheating! I didn't know Arnold cheated.
Not that kind of cheating. It's a technique in weight training where you adjust your form a little to squeeze out a few extra reps.
Oh, okay. So pushing yourself beyond what you think you're capable of.
You got it. And Hardy says this principle applies to all areas of life. It's about finding ways to go above and beyond, exceeding expectations.
So instead of just meeting the bare minimum, we're looking for opportunities to do more.
Exactly. Think about Nordstrom with their legendary customer service, or Richard Branson with his out-of-the-box product launches.
Those guys definitely know how to make an impact.
They're not afraid to stand out, to be bold.
So it's those extra touches, those unexpected gestures that can really accelerate our progress.
Exactly. Hardy encourages us to look for those multiplier opportunities where we can go a little further, push a little harder, deliver a little bit more.
I love that, multiplier opportunities. It's about finding those moments where we can really make a difference.
And he even talks about doing the unexpected, breaking away from the norm.
So not just doing more, but doing things differently.
Right. Like he tells this story about encouraging a friend to go above and beyond during a job interview.
What did he do?
He told his friend to create a whole presentation outlining how he could help the company.
Wow, that's going all out.
It is, but it's about making a statement, showing that you're not afraid to think outside the box.
So being memorable, being the person who takes that extra step.
You got it. And sometimes that extra effort can be the difference between getting the job or not.
Or landing that client or closing that deal.
Exactly. And Hardy, he believes in being bold, in making a statement, Like, he talks about Richard Branson and how he built his empire on doing the unexpected.
Yeah, that guy is always pushing the envelope.
And he shares his own story about how he proposed to his wife.
Oh, what did he do?
He went above and beyond to impress her family. He wanted to show them how much he cared, how serious he was about her.
So sweet. And I bet that made a lasting impression.
Absolutely. And Hardy talks about Stuart Johnson, from Success Magazine.
Yeah.
Well, he decided to launch the Success Foundation even though they were facing some tough financial times.
Really?
He wanted to make a bigger impact, to go beyond just publishing a magazine. And that decision, it really amplified their reach and their influence.
That's a powerful example of how going above and beyond, even when it's tough, can lead to incredible results.
It's about thinking bigger, acting bolder, and making those WW moments happen.
I love that. Make those WLW moments happen. That's what we should all be striving for. So we've got choices, habits, momentum, the importance of pushing our limits. Now, what about all those things outside of us that can impact our progress?
That's where we get into influences.
Influences, okay.
Yeah.
Like peer pressure and stuff.
Well, it's more than just peer pressure. Hardy breaks it down into three main categories: input, associations, and environment.
Input, associations, and environment. I'm intrigued. Let's start with input. What's that all about?
Input is all the information we take in. The books we read, the shows we watch, the conversations we have.
So like what we feed our minds.
Exactly. And Hardy is a big believer in garbage in, garbage out.
Makes sense. If you're constantly consuming negative stuff, it's going to affect your outlook on life.
Right. He even talks about creating a media diet.
A media diet. I like that. So being as intentional about what we consume mentally as we are about what we eat.
Exactly. And Hardy, he really practices what he preaches. He canceled his newspaper subscription and limits his TV time.
Wow, he's serious about it.
He is. He wants to protect his mental space,
Yeah.
He'd rather fill his mind with positive, uplifting content.
So instead of doom scrolling and negativity, he's choosing to focus on things that inspire him, things that align with his goals and values.
Exactly. He's all about reading books, listening to educational podcasts, that kind of stuff.
So he's curating his own personal library of positive and inspiring content.
I love that. It's like creating your own mental ecosystem.
And speaking of maximizing your time, he also talks about using your commute for learning.
Ah, yes. Tuning your car into a mobile classroom. It's a great way to make the most of those otherwise wasted hours.
Totally. It's like getting a mini education while you're stuck in traffic. Okay, so we've talked about input, the information we take in. What about associations?
Associations, the people we surround ourselves with. These are huge. Hardy even says they can determine as much as 95% of our success or failure.
95%. Wow, that's a big number. So who we hang out with really does matter.
It really does. It's like a subtle current, gently pushing you in one direction or another.
So if you're spending time with people who are constantly complaining or gossiping, that negativity can start to rub off on you.
And on the flip side, if you're hanging out with positive, goal-oriented people, their energy can lift you up.
Okay, that makes total sense. So how do we figure out if our associations are helping us or hurting us?
Hardy has this great exercise. Identify the 5 people you spend the most time with. Then rate them on a scale of 1 to 10 in areas that are important to you, like their health, finances, relationships, and mindset.
So it's like evaluating your inner circle.
Exactly. Then average their scores. That average represents where you're likely headed if you keep those same associations.
That's a pretty eye-opening way to look at it.
Right. It might be time to make some adjustments. Maybe it's about limiting time with certain people or seeking out new connections.
So being intentional about who you let into your inner circle.
Absolutely. And Hardy also talks about finding a peak performance partner.
What's that?
It's someone who's also committed to growth, someone who will challenge you to be your best, provide support, and hold you accountable.
Like a built-in cheerleader and accountability partner rolled into one.
Exactly. It's so valuable to have someone on your team, someone who gets it. And Hardy, he suggests attending events and joining groups where successful people hang out.
So put yourself in the right environment, surround yourself with the right people.
Exactly. And don't underestimate the power of mentors. Learning from people who have already achieved what you want can accelerate your progress like crazy.
It's like having a shortcut to success.
In a way, it is. And mentorship is a two-way street. We learn from those ahead of us, and we can also share our knowledge to help others.
It's about being both a student and a teacher. Okay, we've got input, associations. What was the third one?
Environment. Our physical surroundings.
Oh, right, environment.
Hardy believes our environment can either nurture us or sabotage us.
I can see that. Like, if you're trying to eat healthy, but your kitchen is full of junk food, you're setting yourself up for a struggle.
Exactly. It's like having all these temptations right in front of you, making it harder to make those good choices.
So it's about creating an environment that supports your goals.
You got it. Declutter your workspace to improve focus. Create a cozy reading nook to encourage more reading time. Surround yourself with inspiring artwork or quotes.
So making your environment work for you, not against you.
Exactly. And Hardy even shares this story about how he used to drive through this wealthy neighborhood and picture himself living in this specific house on a hill.
Did he end up buying it?
He did. A few years later, that very house became his home.
No way. That's amazing.
It shows how powerful our surroundings can be in shaping our thoughts and even our reality.
It's almost like we're constantly absorbing messages from our environment, whether we realize it or not.
It's all connected. Our thoughts, our actions, our surroundings, they all influence each other.
Okay, so we've talked about input, associations, and environment. These are all those external factors that can either help us or hinder us on our journey. But I'm really curious about this idea of acceleration. How do we take all of this knowledge about the compound effect and really kick things into high gear?
It really is about understanding how to leverage all these principles to reach those goals faster.
So, like, what are some specific things we can do to really accelerate our progress?
Hardy has a ton of great tips. One of them is focusing on those wow moments.
Wow moments. What are those?
It's about going above and beyond, exceeding expectations, creating those moments that really make an impact.
So instead of just doing the bare minimum, we're looking for opportunities to really shine.
Exactly. Think about those times you've experienced amazing customer service, like maybe at Nordstrom.
Oh yeah, they're known for that.
Or think about Richard Branson's product launches. They're always doing something unexpected, something that gets people talking.
So it's those extra touches, those unexpected gestures that can really set us apart.
Absolutely. And Hardy calls these multiplier opportunities. It's those moments where we can go a little further, push a little harder, deliver a little bit more.
I like that, multiplier opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
It's like finding those moments where we can really amplify our impact.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he even talks about doing the unexpected, breaking away from the norm, creating something truly remarkable.
So not just doing more, but doing things differently.
Right. Like, think about if you're going on a job interview. What could you do to really stand out?
Besides wearing a really sharp outfit.
Well, Hardy actually encourages people to create a presentation for their potential employer.
A presentation, like for a job interview.
Yep. Outlining how they could help the company,
Yes.
showcasing their skills and ideas.
Wow, that's bold.
It is. But it's about showing initiative, demonstrating your value, making a lasting impression.
So thinking outside the box, being memorable, being the person who goes that extra mile.
You got it. And sometimes it's those seemingly small things that can make all the difference.
So choices, habits, momentum, influences. It seems like everything we've talked about today comes back to this core idea of the compound effect.
It really does. It's those small, consistent actions repeated over time that create those extraordinary results.
It's been so insightful to dive into this book and explore all these different principles.
It's amazing how these principles can be applied to any area of life.
Whether it's our finances, our health, our relationships, our careers.
It's not about finding some magic formula or overnight success.
It's about understanding that success is a journey, not a destination.
And it's a journey that takes commitment, discipline, and a willingness to embrace the power of those small, consistent actions.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into the compound effect, I want to leave you with this question.
What's one small, positive change you can commit to making, starting today?
Think about one area of your life where you'd like to see improvement. It doesn't have to be a huge change.
Maybe it's reading for 10 minutes before bed instead of scrolling through social media.
Or swapping that sugary drink at lunch for a glass of water.
Or making just one extra sales call each day.
Whatever it is, just take that first step and then keep going.
And here's a little challenge for you.
Track your progress for just 1 week.
See what happens. You might be amazed by the momentum you create.
Remember, the compound effect is always at work, whether we're consciously using it or not.
So why not make it work for us?
Start small, stay consistent, and watch those small actions compound over time, leading you to a life filled with greater achievement and fulfillment.
And if you're looking for more inspiration, be sure to check out Darren Hardy's book, The Compound Effect.
It's packed with great insights and practical tips that can help you achieve amazing things.
So that's it for this deep dive.
We hope you found it valuable and inspiring.
Until next time.
Keep learning, keep growing, and remember, even the longest journey begins with a single step.